coach.
What is coming up the most? Why are people leaving?
Why are people
their
leaving?
marriage?
It's not, I would say, emotionally speaking, what I see is that we make this mistake of marrying someone who looks good on paper. The second you relay to your spouse, I'm not happy because of this, or this part of the relationship is not going well for me. In a healthy marriage, the spouse is going to say, all right, let's work on it. Let's fix it. But unfortunately, 50% of people get divorced, and it's because the other person is so taken aback. How could you not be happy? Then it becomes resentment and emotional abuse and unwillingness to change.
Welcome to episode 1515, my ex-boyfriend's baseball college number. What do you think of that? Today's guest is right on par for that topic, Michelle Dempsey-Multack.
I know. I'm Dempsey in the streets, Multack in the sheets.
Oh, that's good. It. And you know what, guys? You know I'm a hot mess already. This is my friend Michelle. We have been through a lot together.
Wait, I don't know if it's a jinx that I'm your ex-boyfriend's.
No, I didn't know it was episode 15 until
1 plus
Jay
5 equals 6, which is my lucky number. So I think we're good.
Do you do the numerology shit?
I don't know numerology. I just know my lucky number 6.
My kids are literally named what they are with numerology.
Okay.
And no one knows that. And it's okay.
Okay.
That you don't know that. Don't cancel me now. But 15 and you being here as a divorce coach. Is that serendipitous? I think so. Michelle.
Divorce for everyone.
All right. So I put here, you ready for what I put? She's the go-to voice for thriving after divorce.
Hey.
Part coach, part cheerleader, and 100% no BS. Author, podcast host, and the brains.
Host. Mike Tyson.
Author, podcast host, and the brains behind the Moving On method, Michelle Dempsey-Multack is here to help you turn your co-parenting chaos into calm.
Did I that was really good. That was very ChatGPT.
Let's welcome the breakup whisperer herself, Michelle Dempsey. This is why I don't do intros.
Breakup whisperer. Yeah, that
was very ChatGPT.
That's okay.
But how I'm going to introduce you is you were pretty much my divorce coach when I didn't have a divorce coach.
Right.
That
and
makes
happily,
much more sense.
like I think we both connected. I want to say it was 21 or 22. When did you get separated?
19.
So then it was a long time ago. But I didn't start posting about this lovely divorce shit until probably late 19. I started my podcast early 2020. My book didn't come out till 2022 because thanks to the big 5 publishers that, it's just kind of a process. But you and I think we're neck and neck in where we were. And it's just so funny to see the not funny. It's fucking amazing to see the evolution.
Yes.
Like here we are.
I was on your podcast
a couple
twice.
of times. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh, this is awesome that she gets to be here for women. Why I needed this in 2019.
Yeah. That's, I think, the best compliment I get is I wish I had you when I was getting divorced. Like a lot of this is great. I was on a girls trip with my best friends. You probably know Erin. It's the conscious mom.
Yes.
Her and a couple other friends. And we were on a trip and this woman came, she must have been my mom's age, came to the pool. We were at the pool. She came over to my chair. She's like, Michelle? I'm like, yes. And she starts crying.
Yeah.
She's like, I follow you because my daughter's going through a divorce and she won't listen to me. So I send her your post. And I'm like, that's the best. And that's why I love doing this because, I mean, had my mom had a little support when she was getting divorced, I probably wouldn't be as fucked up as I am.
Yes. Yes. And I had you, here's the thing about social media. And the reason I started the podcast was because I'm like, wait, I have this following and I have these resources that other people don't have. Mm-hmm. So I just felt like I wanted to share it. And that's where the advice I got from you, because we were in like-minded, the divorce coach experience that I got, I'm like, okay, I don't want people to struggle from feeling isolated.
Well, yeah, I think that's the hardest part, especially, we live our lives on these really small scales. Mm-hmm. Like it's like our inner circles and our family. And if you're the only one in your little world going through it, mm-hmm. it feels like you're the only one in the world going through it. And so I started to realize all these people would like spill their guts to me. And I'm thinking, do they not have people in their life that get it? And no, back when I got separated, I was the only one I knew. Everyone in my circle was getting pregnant with their second kids, going on fancy summer trips with their husbands. And here I am. And it felt like the only one in the world. So I think that is the value of putting the realness out there.
Yeah. And when you tell people in your real life, and God love everybody who was there for me and tried to be, they will give you their impression of what they think is best for you.
Well, the worst people to get advice from in a time like divorce is your family and your friends, because they're biased. They love you. They want to see the other person fucking burn to the ground. And they forget that loving you means also loving the experience your children are going to have. It's not two totally separate things. Like you don't just get to like sign some papers and ride off into the sunset. And if you could, maybe you'd handle the separation differently. But you and I both know you're never done with the person.
No, and you're never done with the paperwork.
It's like the mole you get removed at the dermatologist and it keeps growing back every year. She's got to take it off again. That's what it is.
It is, when I post things like when I'm alone, or I say single mom, or I say divorce, it's like, wow, when am I going to like get rid of this label? But what I want to honor is when you're going through it, you feel like you are on this deserted island. Mm-hmm. You feel like there's no way you can get through it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to honor today is our conversation, our friendship that's developed from this topic, but also lean into the topic of how to not fuck up your kid when you're going through divorce. I think we just cut to the chase and like, let's talk about it. Because if you're solely focused on your kids and not your ego and not your pride.
Listen. Nobody anywhere is doing it perfectly.
Right.
I've been a co-parenting specialist for many years now. I've worked with hundreds of people, from celebrities who I can't name because we sign NDAs in this business, to the average mom like you and I. And every single person is going to struggle with how they feel versus how their children feel, versus like in my situation, my childhood trauma. And trying to separate that from the parenting. And there's just so much that comes into the mix that it makes sense why people say, just stay together for the kids. Divorce will fuck them up. That's only if you get divorced and you can't manage yourself in the way your children need in this moment in time. And it's not that hard. It's literally just a decision of, I'm going to keep my shit right here so that I can take care of my kids and my shit doesn't become their shit.
Yeah. This snack, Sauvignon Blanc break, is brought to you by JUNKLESS. Have you tried these?
I want one. What are the flavors? Is the orange a peanut butter one?
Peanut butter chocolate. That's my favorite. Mm-hmm. So JUNKLESS is less junk, more snacks. We're not giving up our snacks this summer.
Anyone who follows me knows I'm a homemade queen. Like I love to fucking cook. I'm like, I've been on vacation for 10 days, poor me. But like if I eat in one more restaurant, like I just want to go home and make myself dinner.
Oh, no, never.
Yeah.
So talk to me.
So I eat like, my snacks are not like a handful of chips. Like do you ever see the meme, the reel of like the girl with the cold chicken cutlet in her car in like a Ziploc bag? Like that's me. Like after the gym, if I'm running from my workout to a meeting or a nail appointment or to pick up Bella, so I will usually either make a bar or have something in the car.
That doesn't have all the crapola in it.
Someone recommended something to me.
Yeah.
That's super clean. I'm not even going to say the name. It rhymes with Schmavid. It tasted like a bar of, people are like, oh, it's the best bar you'll ever eat. And I want something that's like the grainy, like Nature's Valley bar. That's what I like. So I feel
no, you'll like those.
Yeah.
Is it like a competitor of the guy with the hat on? But they don't taste fake.
Mm-hmm. I know who he is.
So where do you begin, right? If I were, because what you do is you're a coach. So someone like me says, holy crap, we just poo-pooed in mediation. We are not going to be able to mediate. Mm-hmm. We are going to have to hire up, get a lawyer. Where do you come in?
It's amazing because that happens, right? And then like 2 hours later, it's like, okay, bye kids, have fun with daddy, after we just ripped each other's eyeballs out at the mediation table. Typically the best time I'd say for people to hire me is just when they've made the decision they're retaining a lawyer or they already have. I'm never going to be the one to decide for you whether you should stay or go. People will reach out to me and they're like, I'm still married. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, not answering that question for you because I don't want that blood on my hands. Come to a decision. I made the mistake of working with somebody once who was, and I should have known, it was very like, I gave her my prices and before she was like, okay, done. I want the biggest package. Let's go. Let's do it. Da, da, da. 2 sessions later, she's like, I need my money back. I'm getting back with my ex. I'm like, absolutely not, but good luck to you, you know? Yeah. So make your decision. And then where I come in is we take all of it, what you're feeling, what's coming to you from your family, your friends, the shoulds, what the lawyer's saying. And then I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me that. We're going to keep it here. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about Chase. What does he like to do after school? Tell me about Layla. What's her personality like? She's shy? Is she outgoing? How is she around new people? Because that's the stuff that's going to help you and I determine what they need.
And it's so weird.
How you need to show up.
My kids' names and I'm ready to cry. Just having like the flashbacks of going through it.
I know.
Holy
but you know
shit.
what? Nobody in my situation explained to me anything. No one asked about Bella.
No.
No one said, oh, your daughter's only 2 right now. She may get older one day. Here's a different way to look at this. I made a ton of mistakes because I didn't have anybody like helping me sift through. I was on adrenaline. I made the cardinal mistake of let me just rush this process because once we get the divorce done, life will be easy. No, now I'm left with like a buttload of mistakes I made in the parenting plan. So that's where I come in is it's kind of like, you want to take this trip. You need a really good tour guide. You need someone who knows the island, who's been there.
Baby.
Don't go there. It's overrated. This is it. And so that's what I do. And it's beautiful because I always say, like, you're not going to need me for more than a year. If you're working with me for a year, it's a lot. But people do come back and have come back now that they're in this second phase of their lives where they're learning how to blend a family, which is a whole nother fuckery of itself, right? Because all these issues you work through and put to bed, now you may be getting into a relationship with someone who is not co-parenting very well with their ex, and it's triggering you. So clients will come back in this phase. I mean, I've had clients get remarried and I've been invited to weddings and it's been amazing. But the whole point is being able to say to somebody, okay, I see you, I feel you, I've been there, but this doesn't matter for this. And unless you want to be, the parent whose children don't want anything to do with them one day, we got to do this a different way.
Oh my gosh. So you are bringing up like what I didn't do at the beginning was to know that there was a resource like you. So I started going through it and I was Googling stuff and I was calling my friends who, one friend had gotten divorced and she was like on me, you have to do this, I suggest this. And it all made sense when I was talking to her. But then when I really sat down, I was like, but this is someone else's life. Mm-hmm. This is 2 people who divorced in a completely different way. They both, that was not the case for me.
Right. And if you are somebody who would throw yourself in front of a train for your kids.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I'd throw myself in front of anything for my daughter. Then you can do what needs to be done. Everyone's like, I'm not taking the high road. He was a narcissist or he doesn't deserve my kindness. No, I'm sure the fuck he doesn't, but your kids do, right? And so like, I always say to people with that mindset, like, pretend it's 20 years from now and your child is sitting in therapy talking about their experience with you. Are they going to say, yeah, my parents got divorced, but you know what? My dad was kind of an asshole, but my mom really held it down. Like she didn't let us see that. Or my mom fueled the fire. She made me feel like shit for enjoying my dad. Those are the only 2 stories kids can tell.
Right. Or my poor mom, she's like a martyr and she let it rule her whole being.
Right. But I do, I think I could tell you as a child of divorce who experienced the worst. I don't know if you know my story. I was estranged from my father by the time I was 12. I mean, it was brutal. My parents' divorce lasted from when I was 8 until I was graduating high school at 18. Knockdown, drag out, lawyers, cops, arrests, you name it. We were estranged by the time I was 12. And my mom was a badass immigrant single mom. I'll give her that. She didn't have the resources that we have now to know what to say and what not to say. And there's a lot I wish I didn't hear. There's a lot of things that I probably could have done without knowing, and those things stay with you and they shape, when you know the details too early of a situation and hear the bad things a parent has done, that's just going to shape your view on everybody for the rest of your life. So trust issues out the ass. Like I have had a lot to work through, and that's what gives me the context. People think like, oh, she must have had a horrible divorce. I didn't. In the grand scheme of things, it felt awful at the time. Seeing what I see now, I know it wasn't. My childhood was what shaped all of this because that was as bad as it could get.
Okay. And so take me back to that.
Oof. I was 8. Now I'm going to cry. My parents separated, but it was like what not to do. It was like a whole what not to do.
Well, that's what we
Came
need.
home from school one day, walked up the driveway in June. I lived on Long Island. It was nice out. My mom and my grandparents were on the deck in my backyard. My grandma's got a tissue. She's crying. My mom looks like she'd seen a ghost. And I'm like, what's going on? I didn't even go inside. Like I still have my backpack and I sat down. Mommy and daddy are getting a divorce. And as my mom is saying it, Nanny, my grandma, who everybody on social media knows, is like, and I'm like, oh, okay, why? Like I'd never heard this before. Daddy has a new girlfriend. He wants to be with her. Oh, okay. Am I going to see him again? Yeah, he's coming to pick you up soon. And I remember I like ran in the house and I had a 2-story house. I sat on the bottom step and I was just kind of like curled up. I didn't know how to feel. I was crying because I knew it was like a sad thing. Honk, honk. An hour later, 2 hours, I don't know. He's in the driveway with his side chick in the front seat. He was living a double life with this woman for years. He had many women everywhere, but this one in particular, raising her son. Like while he was with her, my mom had gotten pregnant with my brother, like completely and people say, how did your mom not know? My mom didn't know. She came from a sheltered community in Colombia, came to the States, met this guy who she thought was like this nice, rich lawyer. And, here we were. And in hindsight, I've been able to depersonalize my father's behavior towards me, which was brutally awful, but he was that way to all women. He has so many issues of his own, but he treated me horribly and really put my brother on a pedestal. So like he takes me and I go to his new apartment. All of a sudden he has this apartment and my brother and his girlfriend's son have a bedroom. And him and his girlfriend have a bedroom. And where's Michelle going to sleep? Oh, you got to sleep on the couch. Where's my stuff? You don't have any stuff. You want something, you bring it. It was like, I was like the redheaded stepchild in my own. So it got really, really bad. And as I started getting older, and this is what I tell parents all the time, you got to have faith. If you have an ex who is not treating your children the way they need to be treated, have faith in your own parenting abilities to like outshine theirs, because the kids, especially tween girls, get to a point where they're like, I'm not doing this. My last interaction before I had to have an attorney of my own with my dad was he came to pick me up. And what would happen is he would lie to me. He would say, yeah, you have so-and-so's birthday party this weekend. Yeah, I'll take you. And he wouldn't take me, wouldn't let me see my friends. There was a weekend that he kidnapped me and took me somewhere I was very scared to go. And I like ran away in the middle of the night and found a payphone. Like it was really bad. And he came to pick me up and I was 12. And on Long Island, everybody's having like their bar and bat mitzvahs and I didn't want to miss them. I said, I'm not coming if you don't let me go to so-and-so's party. And he was like, how about I come out there and bury your head in the concrete? How about that? And I was like, fuck you. And I ran inside and that was it. And it was really hard because I was also 12. Like I was an angry 12-year-old, and his side of it this whole time has been, it was her fault. I didn't do it. She was a bitch. She was just like her mother. It was always, you're a bitch just like your mother. You don't deserve to be happy. And that stayed with me. And then on the other side with my mom, she was doing the best she could, but it was like I heard about all his girlfriends and there was Connie and there was Ella the Russian and there was Kathy and there was this one and I'm just like, oh, okay. And I would get sad that I didn't have a dad. I would never, still to this day, I have to leave the room at a wedding when there's a father-daughter dance. But my mom would be like, you don't need him. And I really didn't, but what I needed was therapy.
Right.
I needed therapy.
Right.
So it's been 1,000% the journey of my life to make sure that regardless of the differences I have with my ex or the things I think he does that are ridiculous, my daughter will not live the same life I did. And I do what I can. I support that relationship through and through. It's like one of those things where like I can talk bad about him, but if you say a bad word about my ex, I will cut you because that's my daughter's father. Like I support him like that. And I know that their relationship at some point in her life is out of my hands. It's just my job to support it, because I never want her to turn around one day and say, you kept me from my dad.
Right.
I don't want that responsibility.
Okay, so that's a lot. And I'm sorry you went through that, but like, look at how much beauty you turned all of that into.
Well, I really, I'll tell you that when they say that, I always share the Harvard research is that children need one stable caregiver. I didn't have just one. I didn't have my dad. And that caused me a lot of my own issues to have abandonment at the hands of the man who was supposed to love you. But I had my mom, and my grandparents were like my parents. Like my grandmother's my best friend. Yeah. She's 95. We talk my whole life, I had them. I had extended family. I had family friends who did, now that I'm an adult, my mom tells me, oh, like when we needed a new roof, your best friend's dad came and paid for the roof. Like we had a village, and I had goodness in spite of it. I had an amazing stepdad. He was my mom's divorce attorney, very Sex in the City. He is who I consider to be my dad, but he died when I was 23, and I was very angry and went off the rails at that point. But I had him, and he believed in me. And you have two choices, Nicki. You know it. You could sit and be the victim of your life, or you could be the victor and turn it around. Like, if nothing more than for spite. Like, look what I did.
Right. And it doesn't mean it's easy. I think like right now there's two women who are sitting here and are able to talk about it with such confidence. But like what you didn't see were those times that were like,
but I'll tell you what makes co-parenting really hard.
Yeah.
When you have had trauma, and when you're cognizant of the trauma, and you don't want your children to face the same thing, sometimes, and my therapist pointed this out to me, you may swing the pendulum so far the other way that you're completely denying their experience. Like if my daughter were to have a complaint about her dad, and I'm like, oh my God, but he loves you. You're so lucky to have a dad. Mommy didn't have a dad. I'm denying her experience. She had a disagreement with her dad. Doesn't make him bad. Doesn't make, so it's the work I've had to do for myself right now is I'm working with a conscious parenting coach. I'm working with a therapist. I got my psychiatrist. I've got the team to make sure that like Bella gets what Bella needs, not living what I wish I had, or she's got what she needs.
I've overcompensated 1,000%. 1,000%. So let's talk about that. The overcompensation when you are the parent, right? Because I'm now breaking habits that I created with my kids during the overcompensation. Did you do that, Jay?
I said, so
3 divorcee, we understand in this room. But I overcompensated out of like, I'm going to give them more. I'm going to be more present. I'm going to give them, right? I'm going to do everything for
But that's it. Presence is the only thing you can overcompensate on that won't fuck them up. Like I said to my husband the other day,
not present.
No. And to that effect, whoever's listening, who's like, well, my ex has so much more money than me and he's taking them here, there, and everywhere. I have news for you. I grew up a wealthy kid on Long Island. My life was shit because I didn't have the attention and the love and the support, right? Yeah. That's not what matters. It's the parent who's going to sit on the floor with you, who's going to validate your feelings, who's going to be there through and through, who's showing up to every school event when they can. Yeah. And that is my overcompensation. I will sit on that PTA board until they kick me off. I
cry 50 times during this
because this is the mom that you are.
But it's bringing back like the memories of like the stuff that's so invisible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
the load that we carry though, to be that, I'm tired. I like my girlfriend, my 2 best girlfriends who are not divorced.
She's getting tissues, he knows.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is good. It's like, it's a pride that you have in yourself that you don't walk around saying, I'm so proud.
Well, and also like, I at the end of the day, I'm like, God, I'm doing it so good for her. I'm tired and I want to cry, but she will never have to carry my pain.
Yeah.
And I've seen the benefits of parenting her in this way, and also the benefit of giving children time to learn things for themselves. I'm never going to tell her shit about fuck. What does she say in that show? I'm not telling her. She'll know what she'll know. She figured out for herself what my situation was.
Yeah, they do. They do, but you don't need to. All right, so go back. You were talking about you surrounding yourself with your village of therapist, making sure that you're doing everything right for Bella. So what are some of those things? Like, bring us into your magic booklet.
Okay, so I think I have very complex PTSD from my childhood, and I tend to catastrophize everything. Like, it's not like, I woke up with a pain here this morning because I was doing chest in the gym yesterday, and right away I'm like, where's the closest emergency room? I'm having a heart attack. That's just where my brain goes. So if Bella would come home and be upset with her dad because he said, no, we're not going to see that movie today, right away it was like, what I had to do was separate my triggers. The other thing is realizing,
meaning like he's not doing what he said he was going to do.
But she's not going to end up, like my therapist will be like, her dad can upset her. You can upset her. It doesn't mean she's going to have your issues when she grows up. Okay. She's got a completely different life and way of being. And where I really started to notice and finally kind of put my shit aside and said, okay, Bella's not me. She's not going to wind up the same at all whatsoever. Last summer, I let her go to sleepaway camp. I wanted to drown myself in a pool. I couldn't function. I'm like, she's going to hate me. She's miserable. She doesn't want to be there. Because when I went, I had to be picked up. After 2 weeks. They were like, please get this psychopath out of here. I was threatening suicide. I was threatening to run away in the middle of the night. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have emotional tools at all whatsoever. And so I'm sending Bella into a situation that I failed at. And I'm like, there's no way she could do this. Not only did she do it, she now went back for the entire summer, not just for a portion of it. She was thriving. And I'm like, you know what? She is not me. I am not her. And her experience is totally different. And so reminding myself of that, that's what I said. Like, when you have your own trauma, it makes this whole co-parenting that much harder. But every day asking yourself, I think the biggest question, probably I could have said this 45 minutes ago at this long-winded answer, is this my pain or is it my child's? Right? Like, my ex, the night before Bella was leaving for sleepaway camp, she was leaving on Father's Day very inconveniently. So he wanted to spend the day with her the day before she left. I'm like, you please have her back by 5. We got to be up at 4 a.m. You know how that goes, right? So I'm now like pacing the fucking floors. It's 7 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, this is my pain. This is not Bella's. She's getting a full fun day with her dad. She gets to leave on a good note. Yeah. With him, she feels connected to him. She's going to feel connected to me because I'm going to snuggle up in bed with her tonight. So it's like, does this problem really affect the kid, or is it just me and my triggers or my past or my history with this person?
Yes.
That's it.
And I think that's as wildly long as that seems, right? What you just said was the exact first step.
Wildly long. I'm sorry.
No, in a good way, because sometimes I jump ahead, but I'm like, that's like the perfect way. That's the first thing you think of when you're separating.
Yeah. Yes.
Because if I could go back and think everything's going to be okay, this pain you're feeling is not.
And I hate when people are like, well, he cheated on me. He can't be trusted with the kids. Yeah. Really? Are you sure about that? Your ex can cheat, and like, it's the both and for me. I don't live in black and whites. I hate when people are in like a fixed mindset. He did this. His ego's really big, so he's a narcissist. He can have a really big ego because nobody taught him how to handle his feelings like a big boy.
Yes.
And also can still have a right to have a relationship with your kids. And also, whatever the outcome of that relationship is going to be is on him or her, right? So we are not one or the other. Like, duality is really important. That's a kind of mindset you have to harness when you're co-parenting. Like, he can give them more sugar than I'm okay with, and they're not going to wind up in jail when they're grown up. You know what I mean? It's like we jump to these conclusions just because it's not being done our way, right, or because they did something to us that we don't like. I've made many mistakes in my life, and if people held me to those and said I couldn't have access to my child, it's ridiculous.
Right. Or imagine being so mad about what happened to you that. Well,
yes. And I think
you see it all the time.
I think my ex, that was his biggest fear, was like, he didn't want me to create this sort of like, and I totally like, he's present. He is there. He's going to do what he can for Bella when he can. And there's this weird part of me, like, I didn't trust our relationship, but I always knew he'd do right by Bella. And I think his fear, understandably, was I was going to create this sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy, which is the opposite of what I'm doing. I'm working so hard not to do that, you know, but I see a lot of people do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. When you can, so I don't think many people, I don't know, does this ever come up where it's like, I truly feel like I've been part of helping my ex-husband's healing process because I want my kids to have their dad in the best state that he could possibly be in. So if he's dating, I am like cheering on that situation.
But that's not being part of his healing process.
Okay.
No, you are not that. Nobody should be, because that's codependency and nobody needs that.
Okay. Yep.
You're not going to change who he is.
Yep.
But to help him soften the edges in a way for your kids that shows, I got dad's back. He's good. Like, I'm going to help my ex where I can, you know, like I go out skiing in Vail every winter. You want to come? Come. It's on me if you need it to be, because I want Bella to have that experience with you too. I help in those ways.
That's the hardest part, is when you're like, oh God.
And the truth is, would he do it for me? Probably not.
Right.
I left him. I can't expect. That's the other thing, is like, we make these decisions. We're going to get divorced because we were treated a certain way, or the relationship didn't go what we want. And we're going to expect these people to just be okay with it. No, you have to give this person the space. They're not going to heal the same way you did. They're not going to heal the way you want them to. Right. My ex had every right to hate me for years. I moved on very quickly. I never give to him with the expectation that he's going to treat me in the same way. He's civil. Right. He's flexible.
That's what
he doesn't badmouth me to Bella.
Right.
I mean, he's not going to bend over backwards to include me in his vacation with her. But fine, I do that. I like that. It works for us. It's nice for Bella. You know, so I think that's the other thing, is like, don't hold yourself back from the kindness you would normally offer somebody else just because your ex wouldn't do the same for you. Like, model for your kids who you are and what you are, because they're going to see that one day. And your childhood isn't very long.
No, man, this is flying by. I saw a picture of my kids this morning at sailing, and I'm like, wait, the picture of their first day from last summer, night and day.
Yeah.
Different heights, different look, different faces. It's like crazy. But I want to ask you about someone first comes to you and is panicked about what to do schedule wise.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember that's what I was Googling, and I was spiraling out like, how am I going to miss 50% of their childhood and 50%? And I was panicked that my life was over, right? Like, everything that I wanted as a mother was over. And I can jump ahead 5 years later. It's not. It's been nothing but beautiful, present. It doesn't mean that what's on paper has to exactly be it. So talk to me about schedule, because in my DMs, I often get, I love knowing you're a single mom. You make it look like I need to look at this page, but where do I begin? Like, what do I do?
So unfortunately, the courts in every state have decided for you what they think is reasonable and fair, right? But that's not necessarily through the lens of the child. You know, for example, if you have a 6-month-old baby who's breastfeeding, you can't tell me 50-50 makes sense. Like, you just can't, right? And so there has to be like a scale, right? Like a spectrum, I think. Generally speaking, if a child can have access to both parents on an equal or close to equal basis, it is the best for them. But I think there are different ways to do it. And research-wise, children under the age of 6 do best with a 2-2-3 50-50 schedule. For many, many reasons. You know, a lot of parents will say, I only want 2-2-3. I don't want to be away from my kid for that long. But then I say, okay, but what if your child, let's say your child, speaking of spectrums, has autism? There's a very high rate of divorce in families where one or more children has autism. Are they okay with transitioning back and forth between environments every 2 to 3 days? Probably not. So that's when you have to look at it through the lens of your child, not what's fair percentage-wise for you. They're not a timeshare in Boca Raton. Like, it's...
But on paper, it very much was through the court.
Well, yes,
very much was a formula, and that was
because
so
it's
hard
a child support formula.
Right. But that was so hard for someone like me who's like, this doesn't... How would this make sense? I had such a hard time with it because I am all emotion.
So here's what I've seen, and it ridiculous to me, both men and women who have fought for 50-50 when they work either as first responders, where they have to work for 2 to 3 days on and then they have 3 days off, and their schedule would never allow for school pickup. Or the best was, I had a client in Florida. Her ex lived like 2 states away. They had 18-month-old twins. He was an orthopedic surgeon who worked around the clock.
Yeah.
He was dropping everything for work. He wanted 50-50 with babies who were 2 states away and was willing to go to trial over it because he had the money for it. And you know what I said to him? Like, let them. Let them.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen? It's like when you tell a kid, no, you can't have the cookie. They're going to try everything they can to get the cookie.
Absolutely.
Let him have his 50-50. You know what happens? He just wanted to win, right? He didn't want access to the kids that much. I'm not saying this is not legal advice, but the more you fight something with an egotistical maniac, the more they're going to want it. So I have a very smart strategy, my friend, when it comes to parenting plans. Very smart strategy. We strategize. I'm like
the reverse psychology works.
Yeah.
Have whatever you want.
This is why when in the work that I do, it's not, I hate the word coach. I hate the word coach because I'm not like, rah, rah, divorce. Well, I want to say I'm more of like a strategist. I'm like, okay, tell me about your ex's personality.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you your best plug as a coach, okay? If my divorce attorney, which you would get along fantastically with Renee. Did you ever see my episode on Renee? That was before you. Renee Hawk and you just need to know each other.
Okay.
The Hawk. So anyway, I used to call her so often.
She was like, please.
No. But the amount of money that I spent in legal fees thinking that she was not only my divorce attorney, but my coach, my therapist, my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more expensive than having a coach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also doesn't have the same strategy that you have.
No,
there's a lot of opinions from other cases, but you're like really sitting in.
Yeah. And I want to know, like, first of all, if your ex is high conflict, like the fire doesn't burn on its own. So I want to know what role you're playing. Like, we all play some role in it, right? Maybe we are aggressive and we don't realize it. Maybe we're instigating and we don't realize it. So I want to see your text messages. Yeah. I want to see how you respond when they piss you off. Yep. I want to see how many times you're texting them about the chemicals and sunscreen and then what not to use.
The red food dyes.
I want to see all of that because I need the full picture before I can say, okay, here's the best strategy. So when we're talking something like the schedule and the parenting plan, we look at it through the lens of the child, right? Once we get that figured out, I say, this is very ironic. Picture a wedding cake in your head. 3 tiers. The first tier, that's your foundation. That's the hill you're going to die on. Without that, there is no way the cake can stand. What is the one thing you need in your parenting plan that you're not willing to budge on? That goes on tier 1 of the cake. Tier 2 is like, I want these things, but I'd give them up for the thing on tier 1. Tier 3 is like the giveaways, the Easter eggs. Like, oh yeah, you could have every July 4th if I get the academic decision making. You know what I mean? So we strategize. Yeah. We know that ultimately everyone wants to win and get what they think they deserve. And so I'm kind of like I'm the Tony Soprano for them. Like, how are we going to make them our friend without realizing we're coming from behind? No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I know what you mean. It's just sometimes
I don't believe in fighting. I don't believe in animosity. Right. I don't believe in yelling.
College coach taught me rock on rock. 2 athletes going at the hardest level that they can to exertion, you're going to crash out versus pass the ball around the aggressive opponent and you can have the stamina to play the whole game.
Right.
And
now,
do it well.
I do want to say something to the people who are dealing with real abusers. It is very hard to take this approach.
Yeah. Yes.
When you have spent years and years being emotionally or physically abused by somebody, it takes a long time to unlearn that stuff and to no longer be scared. But generally speaking, if you know your ex is all bark and no bite and they just want to be heard and they want to put you down, it's not gospel. Just because they say it doesn't make it true. Just because they threaten to take you to court because you're asking to switch a day doesn't mean the judge is going to do anything. I think you really have to take a step outside of your fears and worst case scenario and realize who the person is, what's riling them up, and how to kind of just navigate around it.
Yeah. So what do you feel about like how much can dating too soon in the process mess up? Because that's the one thing I would go back and change. Like everybody asked me if you could change anything about the process, I would have not started dating.
Same.
Till it was done.
I mean, listen,
which sounds right. Everybody's like, you deserve to. You've been this right.
You deserve to, but also, what does it mean for your, like, if you're in the middle of a really amicable court process where like you're not going to end up in trial, you're probably going to settle in mediation. What do you think is going to happen when your ex hears like Nicki's out on the town with like, you know, someone from the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
Not going to be good. I'll be real. I met my now husband, who I was supposed to meet when I met him. I know that now. Yeah. I hadn't even filed for divorce yet. I was separated 8 weeks. I hadn't dated anybody else. I was very much settling into being alone and loving it. And all of a sudden, there's this guy who lives in my mom's building. And I'm like, something in me knew I was meant to be with him. So we met, and I'm like, just for clarity, like I haven't even filed yet. And he had been separated. He had been divorced for 2 years at that point. And me and my ex were very good until he found out. And I thought I was doing the right thing. Like, hey, I just want to tell you. Because I knew my ex was like on the apps or whatever.
Yep. But
and it changed.
Yep.
Everything. Then it became, I was a cheater, because how could you meet somebody so soon after, you know? And I mean, he was kind of right to that opinion, but it made things a lot harder. And so, yes, you deserve to date. You deserve all the things. But if you've left, and your ex is pissed that you've left, and you've got kids who you're trying to shield from conflict, keep it in your pants for a little bit. Or at least like make it a real secret love affair. It'll be more exciting that way.
Yep.
You don't have to come out with it and shout your love from the rooftops. Like,
trust me, I would. And listen,
you're not getting revenge that way. You are only making things worse for your kids. Right. Your kids are going to be questioned. Were you with Johnny? What did Johnny say? Was Johnny there?
Absolutely.
Who was there? Who was with mom?
Absolutely. Do you like? I'm going to say something I've never said publicly. The heartbreak that it was for me to be, if they were with their dad and I was out dating somebody and I was in Nantucket or in the Cape living my best life. It was very therapeutic for me, because if I were sitting here without my kids, I was a wreck. So like that was very good for me. I was back on a bike, on a bike path in Nantucket, right? Like living the life that I wanted for myself before kids. But then you get on the phone with your kids, and they know you're somewhere with someone else. They don't know that. They think that was the choice. So they think that's why you're not with them. Right. Heartbreaking.
Right. Bella would say, where are you? Where are you? Who's there? Who's there? You know?
Mess
and she was 2.5, you know?
Right.
And it was hard.
And you add in today's technology of like, oh, they can FaceTime you. Like, this isn't natural. So we are going through a divorce in a different day.
I would have.
Than what our parents
feel it now.
Did.
I would get like fucking diarrhea pains. I'd be at dinner with Spencer. He's whining and dining me. And Bella's FaceTiming me. And I know her dad's there. And I'd be like, I'd have to I'd go into a place of the restaurant where the wall was like white, like my apartment. And I'm home. I'm home. What's that noise? I don't know.
Okay, I've done the same thing. And my ex was like, why are you lying to them? I'm like, because they're 5 and 6 and I don't want them traumatized. Oh, well, you're lying to them. Sorry, I'm calling you out. Maybe you're listening to this. You'd sit here He's actually wanted to be on the podcast. And I'm like, no, my ex. Anyway, tough times. Yeah. Tough times to the point where I was logging videos of me in my car saying things out loud that I was feeling like it was my dear fucking diary. And now, thank God that I'm in this seat. My cortisol levels are lower. My life is coming back into normal, but I do still have a high level of anxiety, which I turn it into more work. So the second I'm like, oh my God, I'm good. Things are turning out. I have to podcast. I got to have a podcast. Yeah. I got to stay busy.
You do have to have a podcast.
I know, but there's something
I get
after that is like, I'm used to being in a high stress
but it's not
body.
Even, but I think but think about like if podcasting is your coping mechanism instead of meth.
Right. But what I'm saying is do you see this a lot where you just.
I think it's for me, I don't know about for you. It's this. So my biggest fear, because of what's happened to me in my life, is like, if things are good, they're all going to go away. So what that meant before I started my healing journey was starting a fight and pushing the person away, right? That's kind of how my first marriage went. And now it's like I have to keep myself so occupied with things that don't even really like. I've gotten better. I've started to say no. But like I would say yes to opportunities thinking this is as good as it can be. It could just go away and it's sad. It's like a hard way to live. But I would say when I turned 40, it was more like what actually feels good for me? Like I've been through so much in my life. I want to do what feels good. Like I've walked away. I was asked to do a TEDx. Kind of regret walking away, but I didn't have it in me at the time. I walked away. I said no. I got picked to be on a TV show, to host a TV show. A couple months in, I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm sorry. Like it just wasn't for me. Like it wasn't aligning for me. And I think I am finally moving more into the mindset of like, first of all, what's for you will find you. Never in a million years did I think I'd end up with somebody like I'm with now in the confident way that I'm able to be in the relationship. I
mean, he drove you here because he didn't want you to drive alone. And then he gave me a big hug. He's very sweet.
Wait.
And then I said, you can come down here and watch. He's like, no, I'm going to bounce around. Like, just.
Yeah. No, he's
here with you.
But still, 8.5 years in, I'm like, instead of me being like, thank you so much for wanting to drive me. I'm like, what, you don't think I could fucking do it? You don't think I can? What do you think I did before you? So I've had to work on that.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. No, I do trust that like when you are more authentic about what you need, it all just works out in a better way.
So back to the Bella thing though, if you were giving the lesson on, and I can't remember the way I framed it earlier, if you were giving the lesson of like the things that you know Bella needs that are not about you, what are the main things? Bella, as that healthy parent, co-parenting or whatever the hell you want to call it, divorced mom, the healthy parent.
Bella needs a space to feel her feelings. Bella is a feeler. And we talked about this in your kitchen before. Like one of the biggest things I've found in doing the work that I do is when it comes to stress, divorce stress, kids have it too. Adults kind of externalize it, right? It's out there. They're talking about it. They're going to therapy. You see it on their faces. Anyone who's going to listen, they're picking up a new hobby. Kids internalize it. So what Bella needs is to just, in whatever way, shape, or form, maybe it's not necessarily talking to me about her divorce feelings, but like knowing that like all of her moods, whether it's triggered by the fact that she has to switch houses again and she wasn't really in the mood, or whatever it is, all of her emotional experiences are safe and valid. That is something that she very much needs from me. She also needs like space and downtime. Like she can't, as co-parenting moms, your kids come back to you and you just want to munch on her and like not let her out of my sight. And like what I've learned for her, the best thing for her is she doesn't need me. She just needs to be like, everything that I thought I would want at her age is not what she needs. She needs to be pushed into situations where she could be independent. She's a leader. I very much was not a leader. So I have to allow for that space for her to be that, and I have to I parent her in a way as if her father weren't doing any of these things, I got to give it to her more just in case, right? Because I don't know what fully goes on behind closed doors. And bottom line is what Bella needs, because she's been very good at compartmentalizing her two lives. Her life with me and Spencer is very different than her life with her dad. Him and I are like black and white, like there's no overlap. And what I've done, what she really needs is this integration of the two worlds. So she comes home from school and she's like, oh my God, I got an A. I'm like, get daddy on the phone. I don't want to hear it until you tell both of us. I do that. Like, there's a field trip. Do you want to chaperone? I would love to. Do you want to maybe ask daddy? Maybe he wants to chaperone. So there's not these two separate worlds.
Yes.
She very much needs that. And parents have a very hard time doing that, I've realized.
And you know why I do it? Is because I didn't have it as a kid. So it's kind of opposite what you said. Like I'm giving Layla the things that I wish, and Chase, he was smaller. So I always put it on Layla. Like the older one, right?
Yeah, but
10.
She is going to carry more of it than Chase.
Yeah, Chase could.
My brother and I had two totally different experiences.
I can tell she's like my feeler and she's the tough cookie and leader. But What was I going to say? I'm very expressive about even when she was playing little soccer, right? I remember when I was a kid and the softball game would end and I'd be like, which parent do I hug first? Dad's over there, mom's over here. And I internalized that. They didn't know I felt that way.
Every kid feels that way.
They didn't know it though. And I didn't even realize it until I went through my divorce where I'll be like, oh God, this is bringing up.
I'm having flashbacks to Bella's soccer games when she was like 5.
Yeah. So I would see them though. I remember vividly sitting there and I remember Layla looking at me and then I said, go ahead.
That same. Go hug daddy. Daddy's here too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like
her little eyes would be on the field. Like, are they next to each other? Are they talking? Are they fighting? What's going on?
So I made sure, and again, I'm no expert, but this is what I want to know comes up with your clients is I try to get ahead of it and converse it, which my parents didn't talk about it. I heard them talking to my grandparents and I listened in when I was in the kitchen. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't think I could hear or care. I took everything in. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, hey, remember after gymnastics, Grandpa was there and Mimi was there and Grandpa and Mimi are kind of weird right now and it's all going to be fine. Mm-hmm. This is nothing, but that has nothing to do with your gymnastics. So
what you're giving them is the number one thing. Have you heard of the Children's Bill of Rights in divorce?
No.
Okay, I talk about this all the time and I don't know why it's not included in every marriage settlement agreement across the planet. So Dr. Robert Emery, a psychologist from Atlanta, a couple years back, put together what he calls the Children's Bill of Rights in divorce. And what it does is take this stance on, all right, the law says both of you adults have rights to this, that, and the other thing, but what about the kids? And anyway, there's 10 things. And the first 2 I think are the most important. Number 2 says, children deserve a life as close to what it would have been had their parents not gotten divorced, right? This doesn't mean parents can't get divorced, but a child should still be able to go play their game on the field without worrying, are my parents going to fight on the sidelines and there's that. And the number one thing is that a child deserves the right to be a kid despite their parents' problems. And so like best case scenario, parents get divorced, they don't put any of the shit on the kid, and your kids are going to grow up and say, hey, my parents got divorced, but I still had a really great childhood.
Right.
Divorce is not the thing that messes them up.
Right.
It's how we behave as the adults thereafter.
Absolutely. I am lucky where my parents knew they were young. So the best thing they did for me was to create normalcy at my grandparents' house.
Oh, yeah.
So that was like... But isn't it wild that like I could see it through their eyes now instead of being like, Mom used to talk about Dad or Dad used to talk about, it's more like, oh wait, they gave me the gift of my grandparents.
I grew up, I spent like probably 4 years.
And they knew that was
grandma's.
healthy for me and they wanted it to be healthy for me. So, all right. So go into your work as a coach.
My work as a coach.
What is coming up the most? Why are people leaving? Their marriage?
It's not, I would say, emotionally speaking, what I see is that, and it's on us, we make this mistake of marrying someone who looks good on paper. And then we get into the marriage and he's got a great job and, he comes from a good family and we have these great kids, but we are 2 totally separate beings. And then the woman or the man, I work with a lot of men too. The second you relay to your spouse, I'm not happy because of this, or this part of the relationship is not going well for me. In a healthy marriage, the spouse is going to say, all right, let's work on it. Let's fix it. But unfortunately, 50% of people get divorced and it's because the other person is so taken aback. How could you not be happy? Then it becomes resentment and emotional abuse and unwillingness to change. And it creates these toxic environments. So like, not everyone's getting divorced because of infidelity. There is a lot of that. Which I think for a lot of people is much easier to reconcile than emotional or physical abuse, because it's definitely emotional abuse. I have so many clients who've been emotionally abused who would say, I wished he would just, or she would just cheat on me. So I could at least tangibly say, you did that, I can go, right? There's lots of reasons, but ultimately I think, unfortunately, we're in a time where people are working enough on themselves to feel confident walking away from bad situations. And that's what they're doing.
Do you think that a lot of women stay who are, let me reframe it. There was a post that I did right? Because everything's social media in our lives right now. But there was a post that I did about my divorce and how, because I don't know the other side, how much easier it was for me knowing that I had the income that I had on my own.
Oh, 1,000%. Money is the number one reason. No, people are no longer staying because it's better for the kids. They know it's not. They know that having their kids grow up in a home where people are fighting all the time is not good for them. It's very scary financially to have to go out on your own. But there are so many amazing resources now. There are financial companies founded by women to help other women figure it out. Like, just because you don't earn your own money doesn't mean, A, that you're not going to be able to, but B, like, you're still going to have child support. You may be entitled to alimony. There's other things here that you could have. You could start putting away money years before you leave, so you have a little bit of a nest egg to go. You know, there are ways to do it, but I was very fortunate in that I was the earner and I could walk away and know I could still pay my rent.
Right.
You know,
Right.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
That keeps people stuck, and it makes me really sad.
Absolutely. So what does happen typically if somebody comes to you and says, I don't know what to do, I feel stuck, I don't have my own
I refer them to either speak to a CFDA, Certified Financial Divorce Analyst, or CDFA, I forget what it is. There are people who will help, like, who understand, you know, the laws around finances in the state, the laws around child support in that state, the alimony, whether or not there's trusts or a prenup.
I do have to wonder how many people just say, I can't afford a lawyer, I just have to go do this on my own. So you're saying there are resources? Do that.
There are resources. There are definitely resources. And I think, you know, even women who are married to very wealthy people, you know, there's financial abuse and they're being told, well, if you leave me, you won't get a dime. Okay, but it doesn't really work that way. Right. And I'll say, do you have a prenup? No. And then call a lawyer, baby. Not only can you go, but now your ex is going to have to pay the legal bills.
And I know, unfortunately, we're at the age of like knowing all these stories. There are men that don't want to leave because they've got really crazy good jobs, and then she's gone off the deep end. And it's like, okay, so now what? I leave, she keeps the house, and I give her half of everything that I've been working for, right? So it's just like the
house is always the fight.
And I say it with both. This is not a one size fits all. There's so many different stories.
It's not. And I say that when I work with dads, like, I don't want her to have the house. I'm like, I have news for you. Right now, she thinks she wants the house. We all thought we wanted the house. But when push comes to shove and your divorce is done and you have to pay for that house on your own, and the roof is leaking and the sink breaks and the toilet's not flushing, you don't want to deal with that on your own. Like, everyone thinks they want the house because the kids are growing up there. Right. Kids don't care. They just want to know where their toys are going to be.
But it is sad because being a stay-at-home mom is such a beautiful thing. Yeah. I've done both. I left the corporate world so that I could lean in. You know, after I had my Chase as a twin, I delivered a stillborn. The trauma that you didn't know that? Knew that. Oh, tomorrow's their birthday too.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Nicki.
Oh yeah. But you see a lot of that. So let's talk about that for a second. A lot of couples who have pregnancy loss of child, loss of
difficulty conceiving. There's a high rate of divorce in those.
Yes. And I saw it because my body went through a lot. I had multiple miscarriages.
Oh my God.
And the one that Chase's twin, Gracie, when we lost her, that changed everything.
I bet.
On a cellular level for me. Mm-hmm. So I went back to work and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm like faking it till I make it and doing all the political stuff. And yes, right? And then I would get home at night and just want to be with my kids.
Yeah.
So long story short, I left and it was beautiful and it was so hard. And I couldn't believe how much work it was to do all of that. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to consulting, and all I can think about is these women who are doing this sacrifice, caring for the home. And then what happens if he cheats or he's living a double life or...
I mean, listen, it happened to my mom.
And then vice versa. Men, I'm not just favoring women in this. Yeah. It's like...
It happened to my mom. My mom had to go back to work. The first job she ever had in this country. Her English wasn't good. She got fortunate. She got like an hourly wage, data entry work at an insurance company. She worked very hard and worked her way up. She was there many, many years. But it happened to her, and that's where the village came in. My grandma would have to pick me up from school. Family would chip in to help. Vacations were... not guaranteed, like
Right.
if somebody wanted to offer it. So it was jolting, but I know, like, my mom will tell you, as hard as it was, there was no way she was going to stay with my dad, because there was that. My dad didn't want her to leave. He wanted to do his thing and still keep her as a wife, because she's a great wife. I'd rather live under a bridge with nothing and have my dignity than be in this situation.
Right. And that was more rare back then. I look at, my grandmother, and she was with my there's so much generational trauma from past.
But yeah, look, with everything comes a sacrifice. Like, to think you're going to leave this marriage and not have any hardship financially, I think, I used to not sleep at night worrying if I lose a client, I can't pay my rent.
Right.
It was horrible. Yes, I had enough money to get by, but it was contingent on so many things and stress. And so, but I knew that. I knew that going from 2 incomes to 1 would mean I'm not going out for dinner with my friends 3 times a month, maybe once every 3 months. It just, you make those allowances. But I do believe, and I'm not like a woo-woo person, the universe rewards your bravery. Like, I swear to God, I've never met a woman who wasn't terrified to give it all up and move on, regardless of what it was going to cost her financially or lifestyle-wise, who didn't get it all back tenfold in some other way.
I agree. Trust me, when I was paying those legal bills, I was like, okay, this is a lot. But then you just keep on keeping on and doing the right thing. And I do believe what you just said. I have a lot of Q&A. Some questions from Nicki Marie Inc. on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, you're crazy. Get over there. You already answered this. Is it better to stay for the kids rather than go through a divorce?
No. I mean, your children's blueprint for a relationship and what they'll tolerate one day is what they're seeing in their home. And like I mentioned before, Harvard research shows, a lot of research shows, children need one stable caregiver to thrive. A parent's marital status does not dictate the emotional well-being of a child. It just doesn't.
How to handle one parent constantly bad-mouthing the other to the kids.
Oh, this is great. It's not great. I hate that it's happening, but this is very common. Children don't believe what they're told. They believe what they experience. So if you have one parent who's constantly putting down the other parent, that's attempted parental alienation. But that other parent is great. That other parent is where the child feels safe and warm. Ultimately, just like your kid starts to realize, oh, Santa Claus can't be real, they know what's up. And if you start behaving in a way to now put down the other parent because they're putting you down, now you're both assholes, and your kid doesn't know what's real and what's right, and it really shakes their sense of identity. So
I don't know why.
And an unself-aware person will take that route in order to try and win over the kids, but
it backfires.
12 times out of 10, it always backfires. So all I can say, I have a course on my website that it's led by me and a child therapist and a lawyer, where we talk about how to protect your relationship, how to safeguard your relationship with your children when you are dealing with somebody like this. And I think that would be really helpful for this person, because it's very scary, and there's ways to handle it and ways not to handle it. And ultimately, though, you, again, have to have that faith that your children are going to know who you are because of how you make them feel, not because of what the other parent says.
Right. And also, they feel like they're half of that parent. So it's like an insult, right?
Right.
Direct insult to them.
That child's self-confidence, when it is shaken and it is not good, they only have one person to blame, and it's not you, right? Like, and I say it all the time, you cannot make a 15-year-old believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah. And it's hard. Listen, I'm sitting here shaking my head. There's plenty of times I've been like, then go to your dad's. Go to your dad, right? Because you get overstimulated, you get prideful.
But that's also something to bring up, is that kids are naturally going to test those limits. Well, Dad said we could.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to want to say, well, you can tell Dad to shove it. But what you really want to say is, in that way, even though it's going to kill you, is I'm so glad Dad lets you do that. Yes. That must be something you really love to do there.
My kids did that a few years ago. They would test me, Dad lets us.
Right.
And what you Nicki would feel was like a test of my own self. It's not about you.
That's like an out-of-body moment, man.
Out-of-body moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, listen, I'm not proud of it, but I want to make people feel seen and heard because I know more now than I did then. I'd be like, pack your bag up. Go ahead. Not to do.
Calling a
Don't
taxi.
do that.
Yeah. No, you don't want to do that because then you show them that it hurts you, and then
that
they
won your
internalize
emotions over.
that guilt, right? So it's more of like, great, you know what? Dad lets you do that. That means you probably have a really great time there. But here, I have my rules.
Yes.
And so 2 sets of rules, 2 different houses. Children actually do much better in the home with boundaries because the second you take boundaries and rules away from a kid, it's like the wild, wild west, and they no longer feel safe.
They don't feel safe, right? This is a good one, Michelle. Boundaries with an ex who doesn't respect me. The kids are with me 90% of the time.
Well, I need to know what boundaries he's pushing, and also need to just say this out loud. A lot of times we think we're setting boundaries. What we're setting is this expectation of them changing, and that doesn't happen. So like the boundary is with us. Like my boundary is I'm not responding to negative texts from my ex. That's not going to make him stop sending them.
Right.
It's going to make me put up a wall that says, I'm not dealing with this. Right. So I think boundaries is a very subjective word. Like if someone is constantly pushing the boundaries, you have to find different ways to keep that sort of like moat up between you and the person.
Yeah.
I don't know. The person can't come in if you keep the gate closed. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I get that. Okay. We talked about when to date again. How to co-parent when you hate your narcissist ex.
You got to change your mindset because you can hate your narcissist ex, your penguin ex, whatever you want to call him, but you still have to co-parent with them. So if that's your mindset, you're starting from a place of lack. You're giving them more power than they deserve. You are name calling, just like he's saying, how am I going to co-parent with my bitch ex? Right? It's the same thing.
True.
She's borderline. He's a narcissist. Well, we still have to co-parent, guys. Guess what? You still have to, you can put a picture of him in your closet, write narcissist and leave it there, and then carry on like you would for your kids because that's what they deserve.
Step parents.
Oh.
So I have 2 step parents. And I think back to being 17 and my mom telling me that she was pregnant with a man that I didn't know him that well because I was at a point in my life where I didn't care what my mom was doing in her personal life. I was like living my best life as an athlete with all my friends. But I remember building up this resentment, and I hope my kids don't do this with me someday. I built it all up and I created walls that even he didn't deserve. He's a wonderful man. But I was like, no one's ever going to be my dad. I hope he doesn't try to be like that, right? I've never even said this to them. I've never talked to them about this, but I remember the feeling of them wanting me to move in his house. I was living in my dad's house, and it just made me feel like I was back to my parents' divorce all over again, even though I was 17. My parents divorced when I was 3.
That's a tough age. Listen.
Absolutely. But like, what should you do as going to be a step parent? What role should you play in a healthy family environment as a step parent?
I think if you're coming into a situation where you don't have children, but the person you're going to be with does, I always say you have to get very comfortable taking a supporting role. The second you try to be the lead role in their lives, they're going to be like, no, thank you. Like with my stepdaughter, I think the only reason why we have the relationship we have is because I remember like my stepmom coming out of the woodwork with her cheap ass perfume and her cigarettes and changing the radio station. I'm like, who is this bitch? For me, it was like, my husband, bless his heart, would be like, oh, I have Jolie. We're going to go to lunch. Do you want to come? And I'd be like, what does Jolie want? Maybe you guys need some one-on-one time, because she was at the age that I was when I had to meet my dad's girlfriend, and there was nothing more threatening. So I was very comfortable giving them their space. I waited until I was invited. I still, to this day, I will say, why don't you take her for breakfast?
Yeah.
Just the 2 of you. I don't need to be there.
Yeah.
They're moving. She's coming to college in less than 2 months. I'm like, that's not about me. I know she loves me, whether I'm part of that experience or not. You and her mom go, you do the thing. You take the supporting role. Now, Second marriages end at a much higher rate because people can't figure out where they fit into the step-parenting piece. They're trying to shit on the ex because now they've heard the story from their new love partner that the ex is crazy. Everyone's ex is crazy.
Yeah.
And then they're, trying to be better than that person. It doesn't matter what story your partner tells you about their ex. That is still the parent of the kids. So from day one, Jolie wanted to go to Target and get gum. I'd text her mom, hey, sorry, I know this is awkward, but she asked me if we could do this. To show Jolie that I'm not here to step on any toes, to show the mom that I'm not a threat. You are signing up to a game that is very intricate and difficult to play. And if you are not ready to play it, you are not ready to be a step parent.
Don't take the kid for a haircut without asking.
This happened to somebody I know, and it was heartbreaking.
Right.
But it wasn't just a haircut. It was like, kid.
The Sephora trip, and the mom doesn't allow that.
Right. Like, if you feel the way to build a relationship with this kid is to sneak around, do what the other parent won't, they're inevitably going to resent you, because what's going to happen is it's going to cause so much stress for the kid, because the kid knows the mom wouldn't like this.
Right.
Now it's like, are we keeping secrets? Is my mom going to get mad at me? Who's my mom going to be mad at?
Right.
That is not the way to go about it.
I hit the step parent jackpot. Both of my parents, just step parent jackpot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I did on one.
So the way I'm going to use it, if people don't understand, it's almost like what I learned about adopting a rescue dog. This is so bad that I'm using.
It's like step parenting.
Is we adopted Lily, and if you act too like you're trying too hard with Lily, she doesn't. She's like, hell no.
Hell no.
If you kind of ignore her and you live in your space and you just let her, she will come around. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You gotta does that make sense?
I gotta tell you a beautiful story.
The rescue dog.
So
the stepkid's the rescue dog.
I think there's so much ego also, not just in getting divorced and with your ex, but also in becoming a step parent. Because I remember, and I'm writing about this in my next project, but this fear of now I'm in a house with someone else's kid who's the age that I was when my life went to shit. I'm under a microscope. Is she going to go tell her mom all these things about me? Is her mom going to ask? You know what? I was really able to, and I'm proud of myself, I was able to say, you know what happens under this roof is sacred. However, it's going to be relayed elsewhere. I can't control that. And my stepdaughter just graduated from high school last month. And we all went. I sat next to her mom. And I have a great relationship with her now. I mean, it's been years. But when we went out to lunch after, and I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't want to be the one. I didn't want to make it about me. And everyone started standing up and giving speeches. Her grandparents stood up. My husband gave a speech. Her mom said a few words. And then her mom's boyfriend said something. So my husband was like, say something. I'm like, I don't want it to be about me. Now, Joel, I mean, she's wearing my clothes sitting next to me. You know what I mean? I don't need to put on a show. But I stood up, and you know what? I was like, I gave the speech to her mother, because I was like, Jolie, I love you. You're amazing. I can't believe you've made it this far in life. Wow. But let's give some credit to the person who didn't want this divorce, who didn't want to be at a table as part of a broken family, who picked herself up off the ground and got a job and started working and being a badass and setting the example for what her daughter could be and can become because of the hardship. And I gave a whole speech about that. And afterwards, her mom and I just bonded in a way. And it wasn't bullshit. I said, it's not lost on me that I was invited to this table. I don't deserve a seat at this table. And I've always tried to act in that way of I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I am. So I want to be respectful. You go to somebody's house, I'm going to put the glass you gave me in your sink. I'm a guest. Right. And a lot of people don't act that way. They forget that they're guests in someone else's life. And it's never lost on me that people have shown me a lot of grace. Here's this divorce influencer marrying, someone's ex-husband and being a stepmom. I have really done the work to know my place, and it's made all the difference. Good. I mean, that's great advice on the step parenting. I'm nowhere near merging families. A lot of people have asked in there, when are you ready to date? When are you going to date? What are you doing? And I'm like, I am just for the first time in my life, totally okay with me. I've also put so much work into me that I'm a little bit afraid to share that. So I might need your therapist's name. Right? Have you been at that point? Have you seen that? Where you've put so much work in that you're hold on, you don't get
these goods because I'm not doing this again.
You know what? The work that I've done in tandem with my husband, right? So like they say you have to be healed to get into a relationship. This relationship has given me like roots and wings to fly and heal and work on myself and come back to a safe space and feel loved. I always say to my husband, something happens to us or you leave me or God forbid, I'm done.
Yeah.
I could never put this much work into a relationship again. I'll start hawking the vibrators like everybody else on social media. Like I am, no thank you. Like this is the most work I've ever done, the best work I've ever done. I don't think I could do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We're going to end with some mythbusters about divorce.
Okay.
Common myths, misconceptions, or wild statements about divorce, separation, or co-parenting.
I want to say that single moms are bad moms. I mean, I there's still the stigma around single mom.
Yeah.
And I haven't
Let's kind of like dive in and end with that because the single mom thing, I was watching John Daly, who's actually going to be, do you follow him at all?
Mm-mm.
He's going to be on the podcast at some point, but he talks so much about raising strong men and everything revolves around the father. And so when I sit him down, I'm going to be like, but what about me?
You know, I think of so many of the big celebrities and billionaires and great thinkers of our time, and how many of them have stood up and said, it's all because of my mother. My mom was a single mom, despite eventually being with my stepdad. And I just don't think, yeah, there's a stigma, you know, like, but every single mom I know has shattered every stigma, has done everything they can to give that much and more to their kids. And I think for me, like, more than divorce messes up the kids, like being a single mom is bad. I think it's been, when I was single with Bella, it was the most transformative time of my life. I became the best version of myself, and I see it happen time after time after time. And I think that there is no one on this planet that loves harder or gives more than a single mother.
I love that. I saw a video from Cardi B telling her divorced friends. Did you ever see this? Somebody sent it to me the other day and it just came to my mind. But she was like, go out. Don't get depressed. Go out with your girlfriends. Don't feel guilty. Go do you. And it's so funny because that's going to work for some people. What worked for me was just going all in on my kids.
1000%.
So like there is no one way. I don't want moms who are staying home putting everything into their kids to feel like that's the wrong way.
It's not the wrong way. I think when you know that the stability you create for your child dictates how much they can thrive later on in life, you're going to go all in. Like I am never going to not be 4,000% invested in parenting. And that was also part of dating for me. Like that's why it worked with Spencer, because he's the same way with his daughter. Like no one was going to stand in my way of giving my daughter what she needed.
Yes. So how to not raise a messed up kid from divorce? I think we just, did we do it? You know what I'm going to say though, to wrap it, to make this all make sense to that topic. I think when your kids see you living and doing it, they see you living large, doing the hard things, walking the walk, talking the talk, showing up. Isn't that like...
That's what it is, man.
We just tried to put it all... Moms, do the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Create the life you want for your kids.
Mm-hmm. Create the life you want
for yourself.
For yourself, but do this.
Yeah.
Put a pen to paper. When I am on my deathbed, what will my children have said about their experience with me?
I'm going to answer it. They're going to say, she lived it the fuck up at Disney.
A lot of Dunkin' Donuts.
She lived it the fuck up at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And we loved watching her happy. And now we're going to bring our kids to do it.
Here lies Michelle, made a mean chicken cutlet, had a big mouth, wrote a few books.
They're never going to forget it.
No.
Okay. I love you. I could have this conversation like 3 more
I want to move
times.
into this basement. It's so fun.
Thank you guys for being here. Hopefully got something. Where can we find you if we want more?
Yeah, come get more. The Michelle Dempsey on Instagram, YouTube, also the Michelle Dempsey. All our podcast is just ranked number 2 and number 3 on 2 different lists for top podcasts for divorce. It's called The Moving On Method. I train and certify aspiring divorce coaches and lawyers who want to be more child-centered. I work with clients one-on-one. I have my book, Mom's Moving On. That's been a transformative experience for a lot of people. Really grateful to have written that book for people. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm really accessible.
You've done a lot for the space, to the point where I told you that what my divorce, the judge, the family court, is that what you call it, judge?
Mm-hmm.
What she said in my case, I remember telling you, this is like 2023. She looked at my ex-husband. She said, I know you think that this is separate, where the way you treat your wife or your ex-wife is completely separate with the way you treat your kids, but they go together.
That's a good
And
judge.
I remember that was so profound. And I feel like a lot of that is now trickling down in the court system, where it used to just be, this is just about the kids. It's not about how he treats her. And now I think we're evolving.
We are. I mean, I can say firsthand, you know, my husband's a family court judge. And
I remember telling you that, and you were like, he was like, what's her name?
yeah. He's very like, get your shit figured out because this is all about your kids, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And treat your ex in a way that you want your kids to.
The way you treat your ex is how your children are going to define you. I mean, it is. If you're constantly bad to them, they're going to know you as someone who is bad to people, you know? So,
yes. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you. Thank you. Your website's awesome too. I checked it out earlier.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Good job. All right. Find Michelle. Love you guys. Holly girls, stay for more. Cheers. Happy divorce. No, terrible. Okay.